Oh, hi again. There was a moment where I thought, are you guys going to prank me and just not show up at all? I bet you thought about it. Look at us. We're all back. Way to go. Oh, Drew. Nice outfit. Wow. You know how to bring it, dude. So you got the mouth guard in and everything? Okay. Do you have hockey practice coming up? Oh, skates? Shin guards?
No, I'm just bored.
You're just bored. Awesome.
Uh-huh.
So do you miss hockey? Is that why you kind of want to gear up?
Yes.
Okay, you want to like make sure you're still sharp for getting your gear all on in record time when hockey starts up again?
Yes, that is it.
Okay, good job. Hey, speaking of hockey, you must be pretty happy with how things are going. Yes?
Let's go. I'm very happy.
Did that.
Tell Sam the Bruins suck.
Did anyone else hear go Bruins? I'm pretty sure that's what I heard there.
No, I said tell Sam the Bruins suck. I
Oh.
never say go Bruins.
I know. I'm just messing with you. Okay. Um, all right. We will get started. And oh, one sec. Harrison says, don't start yet. You gonna bring some food for us, Harrison? We can have a party here. True confession, I did have a couple of wine gums on my break, so oh, Harrison, you're such a drama king here. Just got making us wait for you. Okay, we're waiting. So, girls, we are on the hot seat. It was so fun when the guys were on the hot seat and we heard all about their struggles. And the last couple of weeks, we've heard a lot about how messed up we can be. So, that is Drewsters. We're going to need you to sit down and probably take off your hockey helmet. Can we take off the helmet? You can leave everything else on. Thank you. Okay, that's going to be a little easier for me to concentrate. Thank you. Okay. Harrison, you're not going to share your snack with us? So rude. Okay, I'll remember that. All right. Speaking of women, Mother's Day is coming up on Monday, and Sunday. It's Sunday. So there's always the classic pick her own flowers and give them to her. But I'm sure you guys have this under control. So whatever love language she speaks to you, like love notes or making your favorite something something on your birthday, that's probably her love language. So you can speak that back to her and make something special for her or write her a love note or just all the ways that you appreciate her Sunday. All right. So, anyone heard the phrase, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy? Has anyone heard that or something like that? Smirkety smirk? Anyone? Just raise your little hand. Or you can put the hand. Oh, we got some amen. I live that. All right. Yes. What does that mean? What's the essence of what's being said? If mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Someone take their microphone off and speak to me. What's that really saying? Come on, you can do it. Ruthie, what do you think?
Probably that kind of what Chandler said, that like women have like the power of words, and like she's like usually the mom is like she's the one who sets the tone for the house. She takes care of the kids and she makes sure usually food is on the table and whatever. So it's like she built this whole environment and she's the one that can kind of like destroy the whole environment at the same time. I
Mhm.
guess. I don't know. They're usually very firm. So when they're annoyed, you're scared of what might happen to you, I guess.
Yes. Awesome. Couldn't put that better. Yes, all of it. So I love that you kind of referenced Chandler said, like, as women, we can build it up or we can burn it to the ground with our words. When we talked about guys and some of their struggles, they can tend to be a little more physical, maybe physically intimidating or physically aggressive. With women, they can be that, but it tends to present more as like a verbal. So sarcasm, cutting someone down at the knees, like just all of that sort of thing tends to be more a struggle with women. So as Ruthie said, like if mom is struggling and mom's in a bad mood, like it affects the whole tone of the house, either because she makes sure everyone knows that she's not happy, or just it just sort of filters out and everyone is then walking on eggshells or avoiding any place that she is. So pretty powerful presence that we have as women. I listened to this series like maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and it was incredibly illuminating for me to look back over some of my female friendships and go, oh, that's what was going on there. I knew there was some tension, but I didn't necessarily know there was some tension over who was going to be the alpha female. I kind of thought that was just something guys had going on with their bravado or machismo or something. I wasn't as aware that women do the same thing. They just do it in a little bit different way. So I could look back on some of my female friendships and piece together, oh, that's why we've kind of drifted apart or things like that. So again, guys, when you were on the hot seat, the girls were just kind of like, this is your turn. You're just here absorbing some of this. It will be helpful for you, maybe not directly in this moment. So just shelve it, put it in your back pocket, talking mainly to the girls today. So anyone have a triangle friendship where there are 3 of you in this friendship? So somehow guys seem to be able to pull this off in a different way than girls. And I'm one of 3 sisters. So I'm the baby, I'm the last one. And so I've had this triangle thing my whole life. My 2 older sisters were in youth group together when I wasn't. Then they were both in college together when I wasn't. Then they were both married when I wasn't. Then they were both having their kids at around the same time, and I'm not. So I have felt that tension of them being in a different place, maybe a place I wanted to be in as well, but it just wasn't the season I was in. It wasn't the whatever that I was in. But something that I did have with my sisters was, for the most part, I could recognize that they weren't trying to leave me out. They weren't like intentionally, they lived 5 minutes away from each other and just seemed to hit some of those major stages of life, like leaving the house and marriage and having kids around the same time. And I wasn't there yet. There are other friendships though, in those triangle friendships where it feels like you're like the furthest triangle point way over here somehow. And maybe like there is an intentional, those 2 do things together and you're left out. So comparison is one of the struggles that Chandler talked about that women struggle with way more than guys in a different destructive way. And I do destructive like you're churning inside your stomach. So I would suggest that for those threesome relationships, those triangle relationships, that is often why there gets to be tension and where things fall apart, because as women, we are pulled to compare in a destructive way much more than guys are. So that if there are three guys or there's two and a third guy comes along, it's usually like, sure, jump in here with the sport or with the activity that we're doing. And with girls, it's way more like we look them up and down and we begin to figure out, are you a threat to me? Are you going to do this better than me? Are you going to show me up? Are you going to be more popular? There begins to be these thoughts immediately of, where do I rank in comparison to you? And am I going to be the alpha female in this little gathering? Are you? And these aren't necessarily conscious thoughts that we have as women, but if we look at some of why we feel the way that we do, we can often trace it back to, oh, it's because I'm competing with this girl. I'm competing with my friend, so that when my friend looks better than I do in the way that I perceive, or when she's achieving more and getting better grades and maybe studying less, or has a boyfriend and I don't, it becomes this gross comparison thing. And so one of the tools that I'd like us to talk about really briefly is, and guys, this can apply to you too, is the idea the Bible talks about rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. So kind of be empathetic. And that's one of the things that can begin to combat this competition that we have as young women. If you can rejoice with your friend who's looking fine and got a boyfriend and doing well in the things that maybe you aren't doing as well in, or she's faster or she's better, if you can somehow ask God to help you celebrate her achievements without feeling that's a comment on you or that you're not those things, because that's not you in this season, that's a tool that we have in our kit bag from the Lord in his word, that we can rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep, instead of what often happens as women is we rejoice when they fail, when they break up, when they gain weight, when they mess up. We can, because we're competing. If we're not competing and we're empathetic, then we feel more for them when things go badly instead of secretly rejoicing in that. So that's one thing. The other thing is the Bible continually talks about being content in the season that we are. So for some of us, that might be that we are not seeing the fruit of our labor in our grades, in the sport team, in our body image, whatever it might be, but that God calls us to be content in that particular season. And so when we take our eyes off of the comparison, like the horizontal thing, and we get it back to vertically, like, how do you see me, God? Are you pleased with me? Then it begins to shift our thinking a little bit more than riding this, I'm feeling good about myself because I'm looking good and I'm achieving things and I'm top dog in my circle. Oh, and then someone else comes along and maybe she's looking better, she's doing better, she's got it all together. And we can ride this up and down thing as women if comparison is something that you struggle with. So one of the tools is rejoice with those who rejoice. Ask God, you're not going to be able to do that on your own. I'm not going to be able to do that on my own. To be happy for someone who gets something you want. That's like supernatural. That's fruit of the Spirit in you. So ask God for it. Ask God to help you rejoice with someone who's succeeding and doing well, even if that's not you right now. The other thing is ask him to help you to be content. So Paul says, I have learned in all things. You learn it. It's not a gift that comes down that you open like an Amazon package and you put on. It is learned. So in these seasons where someone else is getting what you want, it's an opportunity to ask God, help me to be content that you've got this, that your plan for me is good and wonderful, and you're not going to punish me, and you're not withholding good from me, that this too is good. And trust God's plan, that he has a plan. So those would be like 3 ways to sort of combat the comparison that will eat you up, and it will ruin any potential for having a sister for the journey, like a sister in Christ. It will literally, as I look back, the friendships that I have been competing with that woman in, they've all been wrecked, because I haven't been able to rejoice with her when good things were happening to her. I wasn't able to. I saw her as a threat, not as a sister for the journey. So that would be part of my encouragement to you, to myself, as we think about even those triangle relationships that some of us are stuck in, like me, who has 2 sisters. I'm always in a triangle, and there's always someone left out, it feels like. And maybe you feel like that's always me. And even when teachers say, find a partner, you feel like you're always the one that gets left out, that they're better friends, that they're doing things outside of school, that you're there if it's convenient. So then my other just really brief suggestion is to be able to look at those friendships and say, hey, is this sort of life-giving? Is this triangle thing happening and I'm always the one that's left out? I had one of these friendships. We all homeschooled. It was great. And then these 2 girls were always talking about what they were doing without me while I was sitting right there. Like, it was the weirdest thing, because my mom had always kind of taught me, don't talk about like the sleepover you're going to have with the one friend if there's more than that friend there. Like, that's just kind of rude. Their moms had clearly not talked to them about this. So we'd get together for play dates, our kids would play, and they would talk about all the fun that they had planned to go camping and to cook together and make these freezer meals and whatever. This all sounds super boring to you. I know, it's like mom stuff, but the idea is they were constantly talking about, and like once in a while I'd get the courage to say, that sounds fun. And like, they're like, it totally will be. And they wouldn't even like get that I'm like, oh, maybe I could like make that meal with Blitz meal that with you guys, whatever. So there are other friendships, girls, where you're always going to get your heart broken. You just have to realize, I have a young lady in my house where we have a lot of these talks. And some of the people in her sphere, she'll say, like, I get out of the car, I don't know if they're going to say hi to me or not. And I'm constantly challenging her, saying, is that the kind of person you want to be with, where you don't know if they're going to say hi to you that day or not? Like, it's fun to be popular and maybe in this top like threesome here, but when you're not sure if they're going to say hi or not, if you're going to be ignored because of what you're wearing, because of something you don't even know that you've done, that's a world of pain you don't want to be part of, in my mind. But I've lived it. It's not worth it to me. So there are going to be friendships where, young ladies, you're just going to need to decide, I always get set up for hurt in this, and it's just healthier for me to walk away from this and to let you guys be you and let you have this close friendship. And I'm going to look for some other friends that aren't going to cause me hurt all the time for things I don't even know what I'm doing wrong. Okay, so that is a little bit on girl friendships when it comes to comparison and some of the ways that we want to be healthy about those things. The other thing that I wanted to talk about really briefly is perfectionism. So that can be the other way that we stray as women, feeling like we need to be perfect, feeling like we need to have it all together in these particular areas. Something that has fascinated me, one of our friends is a pediatrician, and he works here, so a doctor for kids here in St. Thomas, and he also works in Sierra Leone, which is one of the poorest places in the world. And he talked about how he deals with a lot of anxiety in his patients that are 16 and under here in St. Thomas, like a lot of children struggling with anxiety, medicated, or finding other ways to cope with anxiety. When he travels to Sierra Leone to provide medical care for kids who have to walk miles and miles to try to find some clean water each day, whose food source is really uncertain, so that they spend a chunk of their day looking for food, trying to find enough food. That's how a lot of their days are spent. When he sees them and sets up his medical practice there for a couple of weeks, they will have often walked a couple of days to see him and have what we would call preventable diseases. So maybe they've had a bacteria infection, but they had no antibiotics, so it's just sort of taken over their whole body. Malaria, again, something that is totally preventable if you have medications. He said he sees no anxiety there. So that's kind of jarring to me to think, here we are in North America, none of us here are struggling with our food source or clean water. No one is spending any time in their day trying to find these things or get enough of these things. No clothing issues, no housing issues. And yet we are riddled with anxiety. And people who have what would seem like very good reason to be anxious are not exhibiting anxiety. So that kind of tells us that what we're anxious about are not real, like survival kinds of things. They're popularity or friendship or, am I enough? Am I going to be accepted? Am I whatever? Those sorts of questions. So I think as we talk about like comparison and perfectionism, the inability to reach the standards we set for ourselves tend to lead us towards anxiety. So I might feel anxious if I can't look the way I think I have to look in order to fit in or be popular or whatever. I might be anxious if I don't get the brands that I feel like I need to be wearing in order to fit in some kind of group that I think I need to. So Proverbs 31:30 has a great verse, which we're probably all kind of familiar with. And it says, charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. So when we fear other people, their opinion of us, what they're going to say, what they're going to think, where we fit in this hierarchy, when we fear other people, we're not fearing God. You can really only fear one or the other. So when we care, that word fear generally in this context just means when I care really a lot about what God thinks. Okay, so if I'm thinking about what the people around me are thinking of me, and I'm not thinking about, is God pleased with me? It's going to be a trap every time. So Proverbs reminds us that charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting. And if you've ever seen a picture of your grandma when she was your age, you can say amen to that. Like, beauty is fleeting. Or your grandpa, he might have been a hunk at your age and not as much right now, right? It's just gravity wins. Chandler says it, gravity wins every time. So beauty is fleeting. It's going to leave. It's going to change. But a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. So if you're struggling with these standards that you're setting for yourself in terms of how you look, what you need to look like, what you need to achieve in school, and that's causing some anxiety, I just want to remind you, go back to, what does God think about you? What does God say about you? What does God say to you in his word? And he says that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. And he loved you so much that Jesus died for you. And so we know these things, and yet we can get really caught up in what other people, what we think they're thinking about us, or what they've said they're thinking about us, like what they've said out loud. So if you are struggling with perfectionism, can I just nudge you in the area of think about vertically. What does God think of me? What does God say of me? Is God pleased? If I'm trying my best and I'm getting C's, is God okay with that? I might not be okay with that. Maybe your parents aren't okay with that. Is God pleased with that? And God over and over says in his word, it's about our heart. It's not about our achievements. So if your heart is one of, I'm trying, I'm doing my best, then you can be assured God is pleased with you, even if other people aren't particularly, or you're not super popular with them. So that was kind of the essence of what I wanted to talk and sum up a bit for women in this bent of perfectionism or comparison. Last week, I'd asked you as young women to identify which one you feel like you are pulled towards. So I hope that you had an opportunity to do that. And guys, thanks for joining us as well. I feel like this is helpful for you to figure out sometimes what's going on with your sisters, with the young ladies around you in your classes, and at some point maybe your girlfriend or wife, you'll be able to understand her better because of knowing some of this background, and you'll be able to help your sisters in Christ because you know a little bit of the struggle that they put on themselves and that our society seems to put on them. So that was all that I had for today. I had asked that you submit your packages of your notes in the pickup drop off, but I know that some of you might have missed that. So you are welcome to submit that in the next pickup drop off. I will just leave that mark in Edsby as a no mark until, if you've told me, I forgot or I missed it. So I would love to see the hard copies. It's just a little easier for me to mark those big multiple page assignments if I have hard copies, not just electronic or copies or pictures. So just send me a message if you haven't already. I know Ruthie, you sent me yours. That's great. Thanks for letting me know. If you forgot to submit it or you didn't know you were supposed to submit it, just do it the one that's 2 weeks from now and send me a quick message saying I forgot, I didn't submit it, but I will next time. And then just put it in that orange envelope right now. That's what I've encouraged my kids at home to do, is as things are completed, just put them in that orange envelope that will head back to school with your completed assignments. I'm going to post on Tuesday for your independent block what I would like you to start working on, which is a creative project. Okay, Harrison, we're starting to lose. Nice. Okay, I'm almost done, Harrison. You're doing great, buddy. Okay, so I'm going to post Tuesday. I might even get it done Monday. What creative sort of thing I want you to do that wraps up what we've been talking about for men and women, and it's been like a couple months of this. So you get to do a creative saying, and then either a t-shirt or a bumper sticker size something where you have a message. Maybe it's a message for yourself where you just want to remember, hey, self. One of the messages that was in our handout was direction, not perfection. So, hey, I'm moving in that direction. Don't expect yourself to be perfect. That's already out there, so you can't use that one. What I want you to do is to try to think of either a bit of a memory verse, not memory verse, but a bit of a verse that has spoken to you through this, or something Chandler has said, or something that you've been thinking about that is a great message for you to remember and to remind yourself that you may want to put on a bumper sticker, a t-shirt, or some kind of other multimedia cool thing. So I'm going to post that for Tuesday, and then that's what we're going to be working on for the next week and a bit, and you'll hand that in on the 19th with the next pickup drop off. Okay, so that'll be there. No homework. Any questions, comments? No. Oh, so good. Okay. You guys have done wonderfully just being here. I know it's a bit of a discipline, and I'm proud of you. Huh? Nice. Oh, Harrison's got the cracked screen, all of it. Oh, okay, great. He's just showing off now. Okay, I hate to end the meeting because Harrison is just coming into his own here, but I'm going to end the meeting. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Remember, I'm done pretty well now. I'll be posting some things. So if you have questions or comments, get back to me. Otherwise, I'll check back in Monday morning. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye.